Hey folks, so in the last couple episodes I've gone through and redid this entire workroom and my basement. I'm happy with the build-ins that we did, the supports over here, the support over here, which you can't fully see, and I still need to get the other piece butted up against, but we'll deal with that later. But what I'm really having a problem with is this pegboard. I love the pegboard. It's all metal, I think it looks cool, it has lots of different ways to put things in, but I have some fundamental problems with it. Problem number one comes with these little adjustment things. I like pegboards, but the problem is all pegboards have this kind of system where you just drop stuff in, and the only thing that's really holding it on is this little hook. So if you get something heavy or you bump it, it can come out or get dislodged or cause problems. That's a no-go for me. The other problem I have is this thing is not organized at all. Not only is it not organized, I don't have enough of those dumb metal holders to support all the things that I want to put on there. I actually have another one back here that holds all my screwdrivers because I don't have a way of being able to put them onto this board without it falling down. So I need to come up with a solution for that. Now this pegboard comes in two different kind of ways to attach stuff. There are these slots here, which you can buy shelves for and they slot in real nice. I was actually thinking of 3D printing some little slots to fit in there that had like basically a wedged dovetail, so I could slide stuff down and lock it in. The problem is that connection's not very big. I don't think it's going to be as strong as what I need it to be or want it to be. And it's also, the spacing on there is a little awkward. The second option are these things, the holes there. What's nice about them is they're spaced every inch on center. So that's not a problem. I can easily design stuff for 3D printing to go with that. The problem really becomes attaching these in there. And what I mean by that is that these little hooks on there, if I 3D print them, even if I stand it up, they're not going to be particularly strong. That downward weight is going to crush them right on the ends. And I can't have that. So I have to have a different solution for being able to get these mounted in a way that makes sense while being 3D printed. And a potential solution came to me when we were building this V-War workbench thing. Underneath here, how the power strip is attached are with some riv-nuts that are set in there. So they're pressed in, they're screwed in, and then I just can drive a screw in from the outside. They're supported from the front and the back, and whatever's sandwiched in there is going to be nice and strong. So let's see what that looks like. Now I picked up this thing on Amazon. It came with a bunch of riv-nuts as well. Comes in a nice little case that looks like this. The idea here is that we can put the riv-nut inside of one of those holes, squeeze it so the back mushrooms out and supports, and then we can run a screw in, and then basically my pegboard just becomes an area where I can screw all of the things in and have it all set. Those holes are 1/4 inch, and that means they fit 3 or 4 millimeter riv-nuts if I'm going metric system. And that's what I'm going to stick with because that's what I have right now on hand. If you've ever used a riv-nut before, it's pretty simple. You have a spindle that you're basically going to put the riv-nut on. This piece is going to insert into there, and it's what secures it to that blue handled thing I had before. It's reverse threaded, just a heads up, but basically it gives you this post. And the idea here is that we're going to take this and we're going to squeeze that post together, and it's going to push this out and cause the end to balloon. So all we're going to do is take the riv-nut and screw it onto this thing, and it's a little tedious, yes, but it does work. And we're going to screw it all the way up till it meets that spindle edge there that locks it all together. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze the handle, it's going to push this piece forward, and this little crimple zone right there is going to mushroom out and form a wall behind it. So imagine this is the wall. The general idea here is on the left-hand side, that's going to stay where it's at. It already has a flange. And then it's going to squeeze itself up against the back and lock itself in place. So all I'm going to do is screw that on there. We're going to put it into one of the holes. I'm going to go with this one here. We'll squeeze a little bit to get it started. It should pop like that. Then we release, and it is already in there. All we have to do is rotate this back. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt, quite honestly, to do this part. But all you have to do is retract that out of there. And basically that spindle is keeping the threads and all that stuff safe from getting crushed in on. And then once we have this all the way out, we'll have the riv-nut in place. And then if I did that right, all I should be able to do is take an M4 bolt, put it in there, and now it threads in, and you can see it doesn't pull out. It's threaded into the rivet that's there. So what that does is gives me mounting points now that I can start doing stuff and designing things around. I'm going to print some 3D fixtures to hold all of my stuff, and also some of the things that aren't on the board right now because it's crazy unorganized. Alright, so that printed out. It printed just fine. It's not super deep or anything. I wanted to print quick and easy. You can see we have the recessed areas there for any washers that we might like to have. But I can just put that right down there and it should line up. So I'm using these M4 by 8 little screws, and they're going to go in there. We'll get them mounted, and hopefully this should work and be a good base for us to be able to build everything out. So the idea here is we just take that, throw it in there. The holes are a little tight on this first print. I'm going to have to expand the size of that because that's not really what's holding the weight. So we need to just adjust that a little bit. And these screws in particular are not, they're done with a hex. So I just need to get the hex bolt in there, line it up with the other hex bolts or other mounting holes there. And then I should be able to just drive that in. And you can see it's already holding. It's not tight at all on there. I'll get the other one set up. And if that works, as far as like being able to hold stuff, I should have a solution, at least in theory. Obviously, I'm going to need to add like a bazillion more of these rivets, which is going to be an absolute pain because they're not the most quick thing to go into place, but they do work. And it's the happiest with the solution I've been in a while for these pegboards. Again, I don't like the metal ones. I also don't like the 3D printed stuff that goes through because it just has a tendency to snap. Regardless of the orientation I put it on a strong orientation or a weak orientation, doesn't matter. But you can see this holds on there really nicely and it gives me a place to put stuff. Right now, I don't know what's going in there. This is just a test spin to see what we have with this, but it should work as a solution. So now our next step is to design and build stuff for all of the things that need to go on this wall. And you can see it's right over there. There is a lot of stuff on here. I have 4 of these panels, which is great, but I need to make longer ones, taller ones, things that can fit all this stuff. Because you take even a look at my hammers, the weight on that is rough. It is leaning forward. There's 3 hammers there. There's no reason. Up here on this shelf, I have a whole bunch of socket sets. They can go over here and not weigh this thing down. I can clear that out for storage for stuff for the laser cutter or what have you. And I really want to organize stuff for when I'm using the laser cutter. I have a whole bunch of acrylic paint. I want to find a space on here because right now they're loose and they're an absolute pain to keep organized. I have some ideas for that. But that's going to be a future video because I ran out of time to make this one the way I really wanted to, which is with the full transformation. Ooh. But I'm happy with where we're at right now, and come back next time so we can take a look at the full transformation. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.
Just like a spark that's breaking out, can't make a stop, can't turn back now.